Hi, everyone. This is Gary Wilson, and welcome to this week's live investor agent training webinar. Tonight we have a great subject. We're going to talk about links you can use that are available online. I believe all of these are free, at least to a certain degree. Some of them there might be a paid option down the road that's available to you should you choose to do that. But we want to give you things you can use, whether you're in the U.S. or Canada, to help you fine-tune the searches on the areas that you're working with your investors in, okay, so you make sure you're working in the right areas, and also help you focus your efforts on how do you actually identify these people, how do you actually identify these investors. So we're going to get into a little bit of that, and there's a couple other good tidbits in here too. And the reason we're able to do that is because of Mark Robinson from KW in Orlando, Florida. And I met Mark the week before, actually the Friday before Thanksgiving. And we've been going back and forth ever since on about a weekly basis, going over some things we can use to share with you and also offer you down the road. For those of you particularly who have already got the basics figured out and you're ready to go to the next level, you definitely want to pay attention to this tonight. So Mark, welcome aboard. If you wouldn't mind, just take a moment to, 60 seconds, describe, who you are, why you're here. And then we'll get right into. I'll let you just go ahead and dive right into the content. Is that okay?
Sure, that's fine. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name's Mark Robinson. I've been in the real estate business for about 18 years commercially. I'm actually a site selector and an analyst. Done about $600 million in sales, but that has been retail, large developments, housing developments, things of that sort. But my wife's in real estate. I'm part of her team, so I'm her researcher. And as Gary was saying, we met at the office, and I was pushing my team to go into the investors because I think that's where the good money is. And there's a lot of stuff happening here in Orlando, a lot of job growth. Identified an area with like 50,000 new jobs, which shows us demand and good exit strategy for investors. So anyway, we got to talking, and I said, I've got a lot of free stuff that might help y'all. The links that you see, I call these tools. For all professionals need a toolbox. This is just a pinhead of what's out there. We've got 300 databases to choose from, but hopefully this will get you all started. We'll start with the first thing, being a site selector. We like to follow jobs, because jobs means housing, and housing means retail, and that means more jobs. So demand for product. There's some publications that we read and we believe everyone should be reading. One of them is your local paper, because that's what's going to tell you what's going on. But business journals here in the U.S., and why are we not? There we go.
And this is the biz journals that comes from the Deloitte and Touche accounting firm. Is that right?
I'm not sure of that. I've never looked in to see who owned them.
Yeah, they. I think they're.
I find it useful. I have a free. You there?
Oh, I'm here. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. You're live.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. I never really got that deep into it of who owns it. I just know that I've got a subscription that comes online that's free. And so I get a morning update and an afternoon update, and it tells me a lot of what's going on. So I can follow the leads into if it goes from the Orlando Sentinel or from Florida Trend. If you go into, there's the link for Business Journal. So if you go to subscribe now, this is pretty easy stuff here. You can pick your major metro, and you can get a free link into here and have it come on your cell phone, your computer, whatever. But it's great for finding out what's happening. If you actually, I'm going to just go to the Orlando one here. They're actually offering a promotional right now. I think it's like $15, and you get actual subscription, digital, print, whatever, and a book of list. And this is a phenomenal publication. And so I'm going to go right into, let's see if we're moving quickly tonight. Yes. So here's just what's going on today. This is updated constantly. It's been updated 3 times today. But you can go through here and get a subscription. I highly recommend it. Subscribe to your local paper, and here, like I say, in Florida, we have Florida Trend. It covers the whole state, and they take bits and pieces from Business Journal, the local papers, what have you. But if you want to know what's going on with development and laws and where the action is, you got to read, okay? And you can do this one, like I say, for free. And if you want to get a little harder, for $15, not bad. But you can get the blurbs to track everything down for free. So let me get out of this one. Totally here. For Canada, it's a little bit easier. Their publication covers all Canada, so you don't have to go to a major metro. And I'm sure that the folks in the different areas, wherever your market area is, you're familiar with your own papers and publications. But you definitely want to get it whatever the business journal is in your area, because that's going to tell you what's happening. I know this week there was articles on the rental market here in Orlando. Pretty interesting stuff. So here's Canadian Business Journal. Go through real quick here. This stuff is not rocket science. Profit Guide, best places for business, what have you. So you can see what they offer right on the screen. And again, if you subscribe to Canada Business Journal, I think they're giving you 20 or 30 days and 16 issues for something like $20. We'll see it here in a second. It's taking a little bit to load up here. I don't want to spend too much time on this. There you go. 30-day free trial, 16 issues for $20. So if you want to do a full subscription, you can, but you can get your freebie stuff out of here to kind of find out what's going on.
So what other
this one?
What other kind of stuff in the?
So
in the,
yeah, definitely. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the business journals, I'm assuming the Canadian business journals is very similar to the one in the U.S. from bizjournals.com. Other than the articles, I know I've used it in the past to get what I would call the big book of lists, and it would give me the top 25 performers. Is that we're going to come back to that a little bit later. I mean, I'm going to let you kind of go with the flow here because you're doing pretty good. But I just want people to know there's a lot more to these publications. It's available to them.
The tools we're going to show you is going to take a little bit of time here, but I encourage you to go back and click on these later and explore. You will find these are all gateways to a lot of great information and can really make you a subject matter expert, an expert in your area, and definitely over your competition. The book of lists, sometimes they come with the subscriptions. I know the Orlando Business Journal is giving you a book of lists this year with your $14 subscription if you holiday special, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so you can't buy data like that. Now, we're also going to show you where to get your clients here for free. So
okay,
you can decide what you want to do when we're done. But yeah, definitely go into every one of these links and play around because you're going to find just more gateways. It's amazing stuff. Site Selection Magazine. I had trouble with this earlier. There was a broken link, but I just want to show you. This is where the site selectors deal in. This is where we get a lot of our information, our directories, when we're doing moving companies and things of that sort. But the reason I wanted to show you this was they've got a directory section in here. And in there, you can go by state. Go to Tools and Directories. We were having a little bit of.
So it's sites.
I had a hard time with this site here. There's something wrong with the site.
So that's siteselection.com.
Siteselection.com.
Okay.
Right. So, under Directories and Tools, you go to the Economic Development Agencies, and then you would pick a state. I'll just pick Florida. It seems and actually I got an error message. But what happens is every economic development organization, whether it's a port, a state, a county, a municipality, they're in there, and they all have direct links. And from there, you can find out what they're pushing, what they're doing. They all link to municipalities, to GIS. It just crosses everywhere. So I'm sure in a day or two we'll get this thing fixed. But great site for finding out what's going on. All right, let's
So
get into the flood maps.
real quick,
Real quick.
hey, Mark, back to that last one. So siteselection.com, it gives you the the links for all the economic development agencies for each municipality across, I guess, literally coast to coast. So in there, in those economic development portals, people can see what the plans are going out for a certain period of time for the municipality. In other words, which way is the development spreading and where's the money being spread? Is that correct?
It's that and more. It's what
Yeah.
infrastructure is happening. It's tax initiatives, tax incentives for businesses. But think if you had a company in Milwaukee and you wanted to relocate it, a big factory of 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you go into to look for these different things, these tools, this data. It's amazing stuff. But for what we're doing, really, it's just economic development agencies, and then ties into your local area to find out what's going on. Use it for information.
Yeah.
Especially, like I said, here in Orlando, I know an area with 50,000 jobs coming. That's where you want to be, and that's what this kind of stuff helps you find. Okay.
Right. So if you're working with a flipper, if you're working with a guy who's flipping homes, and you know that jobs are going to be created, there's LA is a great area to use as an example of this. LA is a huge metropolis. There's 24 million people in LA County alone, and on the outskirts of the city, you've got all these smaller towns. They're really not small, but there's Glendora, Glendale, Covina, Corona, Norco, Rancho Cucamonga. So if you see that there's an industry moving to town there, and there's going to be a creation for jobs, the future is going to be a demand for housing, you might want to direct your investors out there to start picking up properties and what we call long-term flips, which is essentially buy it for the moment just to keep it rented, and then down the road when prices start to escalate, when your next to last tenant moves out, you then remodel it, like you would remodel it for a home you're going to sell or live in, and then do a flip. So in the meantime, you make money on the place, right, and you get it at low cost, because these economic developments, they don't happen like overnight. You've got plenty of time to plan and prepare, but you've got to be using the data to know when they're occurring.
Yeah. What it is a brick is a brick. It's how you buy the dirt. That's what we say to people. Meaning, once everybody knows the building's there and showing up, once it's really out there in the news,
Mm-hmm.
It went from 100,000 acre to 300,000 an acre, and there's not a lot of profit margin. By monitoring this stuff and these talks, first thing these economic guys will tell you, there's a talk going on, and that'll negotiate over up to about a year. Well, that should be an indication to be paying attention. We call all this looking at the long-term growth and where it's going to be over time as an exit strategy. And like you were saying, we're going to buy it, rent it for a while, when the price gets right, we'll sell it. And so that's your exit strategy. Keep in mind, too, when you're looking at developments, they're bringing a couple of big factories, or we have a cluster, a health cluster, medical city. Well, there's 5,000 temporary construction jobs, and they got to have a place to rent.
Mm-hmm.
After the construction jobs leave, then we're going to have 30,000 people, that's direct and indirect, coming into the area. There's not enough. Where are they going to go? Okay, it's a huge opportunity. So use this information to find the future, the crystal ball, as you will, where you need to be playing at, basically.
Okay. All right, good.
So, and once you subscribe to these magazines and start paying attention, just watch them and read the articles as they come up every day, a little like reading thing. And within a month, you'll get it. It'll just come naturally. There's no rocket science. It's just reading and knowing. Let's go real quick to the Fema Flood Map, because I know a lot of our guys want to know if they got insurance things. So here's a portal for U.S. To pull up flood maps. And then these are very simple. This is from FEMA. This is what the insurance company used for rate maps. You want to make sure you're going to be in an area that's not going to flood, like Tennessee. Was it a couple years back they had the big flood, and
Yep.
you want to know that. You want to know these areas. So it's real simple. You just go to this address bar, and
We know it's interesting, Mark. I've heard a lot of people say, I'm not really concerned about the flood maps. And what we know is this: when you look at the flood maps, you'd be shocked at how many places are actually in either 100-year or 500-year floodplains. And I'll give you a good example. I was just in Santa Barbara last weekend, Santa Barbara, California. You think, well, you know, up in the hills, wherever, why would that be in a floodplain? They hardly ever get any rain. Well, the fact is I forget what year it was. They were in a deluge. It was from the Santa Ana winds. The Santa Ana front came through, and just they were literally under feet and feet and feet of water. You know, so it does happen in places you would think not very likely. You know. And by the way, for your
yeah,
investors,
it happens. The 100-year.
yep. And by the way, flood insurance,
Go ahead.
guys, yeah, there's coverage. If you're in a 100-year floodplain, your lender, if you have a mortgage, is going to automatically require it. But even if you're in a 500-year floodplain, it may be a good idea they have a different level of coverage for the 500-year floodplains. Some banks actually do require it. Most of them don't. But I actually had coverage on a property that was in a 500-year floodplain, and lo and behold, it flooded. And I was so glad I had the insurance. But you need to be aware of that, because when you're doing financial analysis on a property, your investors need to include the cost of flood insurance when they're doing their income and expense analysis on the property. You know.
Right.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is really, so I type my address in, this map came up, and I go to View Map, and it's going to bring up the section where that address lays, and it'll be highlighted areas where the floodplain is. It's going to be a visible map, and it'll have a code in there, Zone A, what have you. It could have other zones as soon as this loads up. And you can zoom in and read the legend. I'm just going to show you real quick what it looks like. And you can very quickly look, it's an aerial, and see if you are in the floodplain. It's coming up now. So that's a thumbnail of what it looks like. And then I'm going to put a scale in here of, because I use these, I happen to know that it's.
Yeah. And by the way, guys, the reason you want to know this now is you don't want to find out a property's in a floodplain after your clients have already done the analysis and the drive-bys and got something under contract. You want to make sure when you're determining areas to have your investors invest in, you want to know what areas are floodplains at the outset, because your investors might not want to be flipping or renting homes in a floodplain because of the additional cost of the insurance. Better to find that out ahead of time as opposed to later after all the work's been done. Okay? That's why we do this. By the way, that's for those of you who are curious, it's msc.fema.gov. And that's the root URL. So go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, also, when you use these maps, you can actually come in with when you're initially meeting with investors and show them you know what the heck you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's half of getting the business. They need to trust you that you be able to handle their money correctly. When you see the map coming up, and it has zones, that blue highlighted area, that's the flood area. And if I were to pull the legend over, not to spend a lot of time here, it's over on the right-hand side. It'll tell you everything you need to know. You can print these off in small scale up to off a plotter. We run them off of our plotters here. So, but that's just real quick, the flood maps, not to get too far into it. Let's get out of this one. Canada, we got something for you. Let's see. A little bit different in Canada. Anytime it wants to come up would be nice. There we go. And then we'll, after this, we'll get into some real meat here. So here's the Canada. I'll hit British Columbia. It looks like, I haven't done anything in Canada personally, but it looks like what you have to do is request a map. It's not as easy like it is here in the U.S. But this is the portal for it. And we would scroll down, and there it is, provide the area designation, to request the flood map. So, but this is how you get in there. You'll have to go in and play around. I have not done that yet, only because I haven't done anything in Canada yet. So, but there's the link for it, and that'll get you to the Canadian flood maps. Now, real quick, we're going to go to Canada assessment links. And this is really, I'm still really working on more information for Canada to get you more free data up there. Just playing around right now. But this is where you're wanting the property appraiser data and things of that sort into the local governments. I'm sure that if you're from Canada, you already know how to do that. But for those that aren't and need to maybe explore, you go down to here and you would just simply go into the eValue. And again, you play around in here and you'll find there's links into the GIS. Canada's pretty good with GIS. And get into the local governments and use their GIS mapping. You can find a lot of stuff. But that's the basics on getting into property searching for Canada. And again, I think if you're working up there, you kind of know this. But for the rest of you in the U.S., they do different terms. And remember, wherever you are in the country, in Florida, it's the property appraiser's office. You go to Georgia or somewhere, it's an assessor's office. So be aware of the terminology when you search.
Okay.
So those are the quick, easy goodies. Now we're going to get into, I think, what everybody really wants to see. They don't know it yet, but they're going to want to know it. This is brbpub.com.
So go ahead and
say that. This is the site we use.
Hey, Mark, say that again a little bit more slowly so everybody can, yeah.
Okay, it's brbpub.com. And then /free-public-records.
Good.
This is the site that we use as researchers, what the news people use. This is the site that if you want to go and find a public record or a court record, what have you, they list on here the free sites. Now, if you get into a municipality or a state that has a certain type of record that you can't get in and go get it for free, this same publication has court retrievers, and you can look up all the retrievers in the area and pay them $50 to go retrieve a record, if you had to do that. So let's say you want to search liens or mortgage or something like that. You really don't find that stuff too much on a single-family unit, but if you're buying a 30-unit building, you might want to do a little deeper search. And so this is where this goes. So this is real easy to use, and I've brought you right to the main page here. If you go to brbpublications.com, that's their main website, and there you can get books on online research. I mean, you can get really into it. We used to have to do that a lot, but now we're doing this. So let's go down here to the state, county, and city sites.
Okay. By the way, Scott Mosley, this was meant for you. Scott Mosley's from Nashville, and we were he's been doing a lot of work on this, Mark, in the last couple of weeks. So this is right up his alley. Everybody really, right. This is for everybody. So.
All right. Well, I'm going to start in California, work my way east, just to give you a sampling. So let's go to California, and we click on it, and it's giving me all the places I can get my free public records. Okay, keep that in mind. It's the free stuff. Okay, so we scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to go to San Francisco County. Okay, and then it brings me right into that county. So I can go into here, court records, online searches, the property appraiser. It's all right here. Okay, and all you got to do is click and go around. So if you're from San Francisco County, you want to go here and click on these different sites and find all the free stuff you can get your hands on. Okay.
Let's try. Hey, Mark, before you go to Nashville, Mark, before you go to Nashville, click on California divorce records. Let's give them, see what happens. Let's give them one real good example. Yeah. What's that?
I haven't looked up this. It's not my forte. I haven't done divorce records. It's not my forte.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go to Nashville and do a different
Let's see what
subject.
happens. Oh, yeah, because that says here advertiser. That looks like it might be. Let's find out if it's a paid thing or a free thing. A lot of these depend on the states. Most states you can't get into the driving records anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this looks like it's from something else. Maybe not. Okay, but it looks like you need a name, so you'd have to put a name in. So if one of you all is divorced out there and you want to try yourself, go ahead. But yeah, it's just you got to kind of look around. Like I said, let me go back down here and see. Let's go. Well, let's see. Here's the state archives, marriage and bride. So you probably could look up at least marriage records. Well, that brings me to something that's not here, but you can get is boat ownership and aircraft ownership. And people who own big boats and nice aircraft, they're investors. Just a FYI there. We can cover that on another time if you like. I can get all that information for you. But Tennessee, I did this before we got on, and I found something really interesting. And just to show you what I mean by playing around. So I'm going to go to Davison County, which is Nashville, I believe, isn't it?
I think so. Yep.
And they have, okay, so same thing, all these, whatever's available free is listed here. And these guys at BRB, they pretty much keep this up to date. This is what they do. Their GIS mapping is phenomenal, okay? So I went to the interactive maps, and I went to property maps, thinking I was going to the property appraiser site, just wanted to check it out. And I found some great stuff in here. It kind of goes along talking about floods as soon as it pops for me. They have a pretty robust GIS, and it allows me to look at all kinds of things. It's called Metro Maps. And so there's a map key on the left, and the map's coming up now, but I want to bring attention to something called layers. In GIS, and we're GIS people, layers is the roads, a layer is lakes, what have you. But so here's the county, and I'm going to go ahead and choose my plus key to zoom in, and I'm going to pick this area here because I know there's city and water. Okay, we got the river going through there, so it's going to zoom in for me. While that's doing that, I'm going to go to layers and open this up. So it's got all these layers and plus signs, and what you would do is you'd open the plus sign. It's still loading here. And this actually has the Fema floodplain in it. So you're looking at the map, and if I were to click into the Fema floodplain and make it active, and let it refresh itself, there we go. It's going to actually show me what the floodplain is. And just from playing around in here, I noticed there's a buyback program with all the housing that's in these floodplains. And, you got to kind of think about opportunities there. Example, we had a guy one time came to us and said, I want to buy property along the state and U.S. roads where they're going to do development. And the reason was they wanted to buy the property, well, it was an orange grove, go through the development process. So they bought it at $50,000 an acre because it was frontage, took it through the development process, got the value to $300,000, knowing it was going to be condemned by the state for the state roads. And they automatically were going to get paid by the state. So be surprised what you can use this information for. But you see the overlays here in that purplish color, Fema floodplain. But if I go to any of these layers, transportation, utilities, wonderful GIS website for Davison in Nashville.
Yeah.
So play around when you go to your different county. Play around, click on the links, and then when you come up, look for the GIS. A lot of these county governments and city governments, especially the larger areas, their GIS is getting phenomenal. I know Orlando, we show where every business is, and you hit the identity tool and click on a dot, and it gives you a picture of the business and everything about it. It has future developments under construction, just phenomenal amounts of information. So really, really get into looking at these things. You'll find a wealth of information. Then you'll find your favorite sites, what's useful to you. I'm going to back out of here and get into what I think people really want to know. How to get some clients.
And real quick, I want to interject something real quick here. When you were talking about the gentleman who bought property along proposed new traffic routes, new roads, that what people used to have to do, and you don't have to do this anymore because it's all online, is we'd have to go down to the local zoning office and see what the zoning plans were, and they would tell you in increments of 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 30 years, out 30 years. So the guys who were savvy would buy properties along the routes that were determined to be developed in 30 years for new roads. And a good example would be for all the people like Ray Higgins here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When they created I-279 North from Pittsburgh, it connected with 79 a few miles north of the city. That corridor, they knew they were going to do that back in the 1950s. In the 60s, when the information was made available to the public, although it wasn't like put out in a newscast or in a newspaper, savvy investors would go down to the county building, county office building, go to the zoning maps, look at the plot plans, and see the plans, and they saw that coming out there. So a handful of people bought property that everybody else thought was just useless, and they or their heirs made a lot of money as a result.
Yeah, I've got a personal friend down in towards the Winter Haven area, across from the Eagle Ridge Mall down there. He bought a mitigation bank, knowing by doing just what you said, going down and checking it out, that when they want to do some commercial across the street on US 27, that to have enough area to build a commercial center, they're going to have to buy some mitigation bank. And it wasn't just any mitigation bank. They're going to have to buy the one he purchased. It actually said, you must buy this mitigation bank if you want to increase your land size here. And you needed to do that to build something. And he knew that, so he bought, it was like $4,000 an acre. He bought this mitigation bank that was wetlands. People said, what are you, crazy? Well, he sold for $100,000 an acre. And all he did was sit on it for 3 years. Not bad. So once you start getting into this stuff, there's some pretty cool things you can do. You ready for the information where to find clients?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, State Occupational Licensing Boards. Now, this is free stuff, and when I say free, I mean you're not paying money for it, but you are going to have to go and select records by hand, but here it is. Let's go to California, and here's everything that the state licenses as far as occupations. And we're going to use dentists as the example this evening, okay, because I know you've talked about them being good investors.
Mm-hmm.
And while that's loaded up, let me give you a little caveat. Dentists who just graduated, just became a dentist, don't have any money. They're paying off their student loans. We found from the retail side, recruiting doc in the boxes, as we call them, into the shopping centers, that dentists, when they hit about year 3 in their practice, start to have money, okay? And that's when they start to invest. Doctors, it's about year 7. And it's simply because they're paying off student loans and getting established. So when you go into these records, you want to look at the date they were licensed, because if they hit those magic numbers, it's more of a sharpshoot target as a shotgun. So we got dental license. So I'm going to click on the dental license. And again, when you go through these licenses, you can look engineers, doctors, dentists, nurses that are, especially the ones that have that are, have more training, higher qualified surgical nurses. I'm going to go and just put in here Los Angeles. No, let's put in San Francisco. Let's just kind of stick with it. So you got a theme. Okay, San Francisco, I'm going to ask for 100 records at a time to show up fine. And it's this easy, folks, with any of these records. Give it a minute to load up. Okay, there you go. So if you notice on here, there's statuses. If you're real smart with data, you can do a data scrape. But it's just as easy here. You want to make sure the person is current. So I've got this one right here. Let's check him out. There's his address anyways. We'll bring up the individual himself, and it'll have some additional information. So expires 2016, and the issue date was 1980. Older gentleman, been around a while, probably has some bucks. But there you go. So you've got an address here. In this area, we don't know if that's the actual address of the office or his personal. In some states, they'll tell you if it's office or personal address. But there is an address there. Keep in mind, now that you have this much information, you can do a little further checking on Facebook and LinkedIn. Okay? So if you really wanted to find who you want to target your marketing to save money, that's what I would suggest. Okay? But it was that easy. So you see how you could just pull the records. Let's try another. Let's go to Tennessee. Let's just kind of stay along the state lines we were playing with. Let's go see what happens in Tennessee.
We might want to do something for the folks up in the Boston area too, because we got a lot of folks on the webinar night from New England and Massachusetts area. Right. Kind of ironic, but that's okay. Let's spread. We'll literally go coast to coast.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
So here, though, it's not dentist by itself. It's dentist, dental hygienist, and assistant. It's grouped.
Okay.
Tennessee. But you'll see that we'll be able to break that down into subgroups, and that's fine. It's nothing bad or anything. It's just the way the data comes from that state. So we work with it. So it says here profession, and it actually breaks it down here into dentist. And then I've got to get this code in here, and hopefully I do it right. Sometimes I can't see clearly. Let's give it a second. Oh, please enter a license number. That wasn't good. Oh, we got to hit OK. There we go. Oh, it didn't like my... Let's see if that was it. No, it's playing with me today. Let's see, what are we doing wrong? Ah, we didn't put the state in. That's why. Okay. Now let's put in Nashville. We gave it a little more definition. So you can actually put it by the city, a zip code, whatever. So if you're, let's say you want to do a meetup group at a public library to do an investor meeting, you could put in dentist in Orlando, Altamont Springs, right? And so you can have the Altamont Springs Dental Investor Meetup group, pick the dentist, mail them a flyer, get them over to the group. That's the idea. So you can get that defined if you wish. But that's one way to use these databases. You could have the engineers, Orlando engineers, or we have a lot of engineering firms in Orlando, so you could actually hit the Lockheed Martin engineers and investor group, all kinds of ways you can do this. But you can drill this down. Okay, so let's give me the names here. I think there's 10 per page. First person. Pretty near, looks like.
Yeah,
Let me
April
just click
28th.
on this guy here. Yeah, they're not ready to invest, probably. Most likely. That's been our experience. So here's just the paperwork on this. But it looks like in Tennessee you can get that information right at the face page here. So let us go back. There we go. Oh, we lost it. But you saw the information was there. It told us when it expired and when they came into it. So again, you can just go ahead and copy and paste into a spreadsheet and work it that way if you wish. Let's go. We're going to see the default here. Okay, let's back out. I'll do Orlando real quick, and then we'll go up to Boston if you want.
Okay.
Now, there are ways that, just so people know, to go in and from a subscription service, which is what we do, simply because we have a different type of clientele. We just don't work with real estate. We work in another sector and do a lot of government work. And so we'll buy lists, and then those lists give us more definitions or more details, and then we can narrow down our search and say, I want 100 of those. And we pay for 100 of those, but it's a phone call. It's not going through this. But when you're just starting out and money's critical, this is the way to do it, for sure. You get what you pay for in data, so it's either the money or the time.
Right.
And that's just the truth of it all.
And in most cases, most people most people, and I believe on this webinar, are willing to put in a teeny bit extra time if they can save some money on research and marketing. And then once they learn how to exercise their marketing tools, then they can elevate and do some of the paid services. Do some more of the advanced stuff,
Yeah, and you can you can actually, when you get down to it, once you really learn what your market is, what your core people look like, then you can go spend $99 and get a detailed list. But by then, you probably got a pretty good list going on anyways.
Right.
And this you can just do in any old spare time. These databases are on 24/7. So, okay, dental, Orange County, find a provider. Let's see what comes out of here. So, okay, here it just kind of lists them. It goes by 20 records at a pop. There's 974 dentists in Orlando. I'll just click on one of the license numbers.
Hey Mark, real quick. I just want to reiterate for everybody who went through the class the week before Thanksgiving. I was in and around Orlando. 974 dentists just in Orlando alone. That's an amazing
that's
figure.
The county.
Well,
one thing I want to tell you about this.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, even if, typically we'll have just a handful of students for each market center go through the training program, the numbers are just staggering. That's just one group. That's just dentists, 974 in that county alone, and maybe 25 people in that area. 5 market centers times 5 people will go through that. So 25 investor agents have access to 974 dentists. That's not even including chiropractors and all the different engineering groups. I mean, that's why we tell people that's the scarcity mentality is easily overcome when you look at the sheer magnitude of what's possible here. 974 dentists and 25 agents. You guys would never step on each other's toes.
Well, I'll give you an example. I did this search the other day just to check. Guess how many engineers you have in Orlando or Orange County? Just take a guess.
Oh, I would bet somewhere around the 10,000 mark.
3,000.
3,000.
Just in this county. But if I go over to Brevard, where it's Rocket City,
yeah,
it's huge. The numbers are huge. I want to call your attention to something.
Mm-hmm.
You guys all know your area. I know mine. Palm Bay, you can see the screen, is in Brevard County. Okay? Bushnell is not in this county. What that could mean is that person owns 2 offices. They got 2 offices, they got money, they're investors. And if I look at the foreign names, I have found through my travels that foreign people who get professional licenses and own more than one piece of property understand the American dream and owning property, and they love to invest. FYI. But there you go. So, yeah, you can just click on a record. It tells you everything you want about it. There's your list. Again, we'll just pop here. There's their address of record is in Bushnell, but yet they're showing up in Orange County as well. So guess what? They probably got 2 spots going. You can dig into it. So that's the dental in Orlando. Let's see. Let's just for the heck of it. So you had engineering firm. That's interesting. I didn't look at that before, but you can actually look up a firm and go knock on a door. Just take engineers for the heck of it. Let's just see what goes on. Just to segue off with what Gary was saying about that there's more than enough folks to choose from here. And when you went to dentists, there's oral surgeons, there's regular surgeons, doctors database here in Florida breaks down into specialties. It's really kind of crazy. How am I doing on time, Gary?
We got 7 minutes till 8. And it's okay if we go over a little bit. We're used to going over on these things. So if you got some other juicy stuff, by all means, let's show it.
Well, okay, let's begin. All right, I'm not going to go into each one looking at numbers. Let's go. We said we would go to Boston, right?
Okay.
So let's do that. Where are we at? Massachusetts. There we go. Dentist and dental hygienist. So they combine those two. And this is my first time doing this one here in Massachusetts, so bear with me a second till I look at all the little buttons. And okay, profession type, dentistry, emergency medical, nurse aide. Oh wow, pharmacist. This really gets into it. License type, I imagine. Oh, wow. Dentist. I'm just going to, well, let's put a city in here just because otherwise it might take too long.
Oh yeah.
So this is dentist in Boston, right?
Yeah, Boston is huge. You're going to get a big list here.
Okay, let's see what comes up. The dial is spinning. Let's see if it gets there's usually at the bottom is a record count. Oh my God. So there's at least 29 pages of how many per page I haven't counted, but let's go click on a record and see what it tells me. Because I want to see how long they've been a dentist.
Mm-hmm. And this is just
there you go, issue date 1964. Yeah.
And these are just the dentists in the city of Boston. This doesn't even include the outlying areas like Worcester and Leominster and Concord. I mean, there's
correct.
Yep.
Every city, type of city, and that's what you'll get is that city or the state. Wow, that's huge.
So the big thing here, guys, is
there's plenty of.
The big thing here, guys, is even though we can look online, we can Google, dentists in any town. This is giving you information like when they got their license. So like Mark said, if they're brand new, they're likely not going to have any money to invest. But if they've been around, 3 or 5 years, and if we can even determine their age, which might be a phase 2 of this stuff, we know that people in the 30s and 40s are more likely to invest. Okay, and well in the 50s too. But the big age groups are 30s and 40s, followed by the 50s. People in the 50s, and if you have a dentist that's been around longer than 5 years, and he's in his 30s or 40s, he's probably going to be very aggressive with his investing strategies and more inclined to want to invest. And I would shoot those guys the booklet.
Yeah, exactly. Let me do a quick calculation here. So I've got over 1,300 dentists just in the city.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that's just dentists. That's not their assistants. That's not administrators. I
Yeah.
mean, I can go on and on. You would be surprised what you have available to you as far as potential investors simply by looking at their license. This is where you get their addresses. Again, if you want to look up more, check them out on Facebook, check them out on LinkedIn. You can type the dentist name into just a Google search, and it'll bring up their dentistry office, and you can, might tell you they've got 5 dentists working in the office, even better. Okay. One of the things we did notice with dentists too, I'll take something from my past, was there were people graduating from dental school, and they weren't becoming dentists. They were buying dental facilities or building dental facilities, and then filling them up with dentists. So if you can get to an office that might have 5 dentists working out of it, I know of a couple here, Greenberg Dental here. They've got 5 offices. One side's for surgery, one side's for dentists. And they probably have 5 or 6 dentists in each office. So you could hit one office and hit 5 potential investors.
So in other words, you could call that a dental chop shop. Get it?
Yeah. Okay, that was good.
I'll stick to my day job.
Okay. So those are the free tools that I want to get you now. Let your mind run wild. If if people have questions, if they have a specific thing and they want to know where do I find this, ask me. I've got a database of sources that spans over 16 years. There's census stuff, there's business stuff, there's just, it goes on and on. I could sit here for 5 hours telling you what's available. But
Yeah.
so that's kind of what you got tonight. Fire away.
Okay. Well, I've got a question from Peter Lamb. He's asking, do we think physical therapists would be good investors? And I'd say the answer would be yes, because a lot of physical therapists, a lot of them are, of course, employees, but they're working for a physical therapy company. Some of them are franchises, so the franchise owner is probably going to be a physical therapist themselves. And a lot of times physical therapists have their own private practices, just like dentists do, and ophthalmologists and optometrists and chiropractors. So Peter, yeah, so Peter, I would say yes to that. And one of the things I've learned in the past is when you have a hunch on something, pursue it, because you don't have to spend a lot of money in this business to check something out. With owner occupants, yes, you can spend some money, but with these high wage earning self-employed service providers, I would approach physical therapists and see if there would be and just try them out. Do a test group of 25 and see how many respond.
Yeah, I would agree, Gary. It's strictly a numbers game. And also, too, when you see this data show up, a lot of it is their business address. If you don't want to spend the money on mailings, drop it off.
Yeah, I know in the past when I first got started, I would mail out the booklets, and then if I was in an area and I was there was an office close by, a chiropractor, dentist, what have you, and I'd already sent them 1 or 2 booklets, that I actually would stop in, poke my head in, bring my third one with me, the third month, for example, and say, "Hi, I'm the guy that's been bringing these by. What do you think?" And typically, I would get sort of a non-committal type response or neutral response. They say, "Hey, it is interesting, but I'm kind of busy and I just don't know." And I'll raise my hand and say, "Hey, look, no worries, no stress. How about if I just set you up for a free search, no obligation? It's in your area, designed specifically for you, and you get to see what's possible in your area." And who can say no? I've never had anybody say no to that. And then you've got somebody who's getting a regular email from you with listings, and you've got a reason to follow up. So that's a great technique to use, especially if you're first starting out. It's not door knocking at all. You're going in a kind of a warmed up status.
Yeah, one other thing, too, Gary, that I didn't mention, I don't know if it's throwing too much at one time, on any of these databases, if they have an address search,
Mm-hmm.
if you type the address in and there's more than one dentist there, they'll show up.
Yeah.
You hit these little, I call them little beehives. You got more than one person in one spot, and then you're force multiplying your efforts. Like you said, you step in and there's 5 dentists here. Maybe they're going to get together and as a group invest. I see a lot of that when you see offices with multiple dentists or medical people in them. Often they will invest as a group.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, we got a question from Tyler Davis, and Tyler's asking, could we give another example of what kind of info to look for in the business journal. So if you got an extra minute, Mark, maybe we could go back to the bizjournals.com and just give maybe one example there of what else we can do data wise to look and dig in and see what's possible, see what's available.
Let's see if there's anything showing.
I know there's reports and articles, but data wise, maybe there's something there that
yeah, I gotta see if there's. I know that they had last week they were talking about it was a special report, and I didn't look into it because I'd already been doing it a different way. They were talking about where all the construction and how much money was being spent, billions, where it was actually located. Which, if you don't, when you're first starting out, if you don't know where the jobs are going, that's the kind of stuff you look for. But these business journals will cover anything that's happening that affects business, really, whether it's legislative stuff, tax stuff, ordinances, what the city government, the local governments are doing, jobs coming into town. Here's about retail. So I'm on businessjournals.com. Let me go to Orlando because I kind of know the area a little better. Let me see if I can recognize anything. Let's see. And these are just today's. These headlines will change by the morning, and then they'll change again tomorrow afternoon. This goes on all the time.
Okay.
So let's see. Central Florida becoming super fast connectivity spot anyways. Well, that's when Google was talking about coming here. And everyone was saying, oh, we're going to be super connected. Well, now they're saying we're going to have that anyways. That's big for businesses. Here's your top, the list of Central Florida's top property management companies. The list. So right there on the front page, they're showing you something that these are management companies. Ranked by total square foot. So these look like the big commercial companies. I recognize them. If you subscribe to the book of lists, or you can download it for $24. These property management companies, I can tell you from looking at them, are commercial as well. So that's office building, not really what I don't think this group is looking for at right now.
Yeah,
so
those
let's see, we get back out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the big guys. I've worked with a lot of them, so that's how I know these people. Let's see. iDrive. There's all kinds of stories have been going on with iDrive here, International Drive, with all the new development. There's going to be in one 5-block area about 6,000 construction jobs and then about 3,000 or 4,000 permanent jobs just for more attractions, just in a 5-block area. And this talks about what's going on and the politics, like this person's talking about, Universal's talking about buying an additional 450 acres on the other side of the convention center. Well, I want to know that because that means you're going to need some more apartments back there. These are all just clues, just knowing what's going on. It becomes, just by reading, it'll naturally come to you as to what the heck's going on and where you want to be.
Well, just
because you got into this program, you already see the potential. Your mind's already think that.
Well, there was another article there back up on the right-hand side about Deltona Hospital becoming part of a, whereas if you scroll back up just a second, it was on the right-hand side, right above the property management article. It was about a hospital system, and we know whenever you can be near hospital systems or university systems, those are awesome areas to invest in. Start picking up your rentals there. There it is, new Deltona Hospital, part of bigger medical village plan. So maybe in that article we'll find out where they're looking to expand.
Yeah, I actually know. Halifax Crossing, master plan. So it didn't give me a street address here on that quick blurb, but if I hit, and I can pull up that master plan, it'll have the roads named on it, and I'll know what intersection it's at. It looks like it's taking a while to load a map here, but sometimes just by looking at their little pictures and things, it's got the names of the roads on it, and you go, okay, I know what intersection you're at now. Because these articles aren't written by site people, they're written by news people, just, trying to provide information. So it's not really giving me the map that I wanted to see. But in this little thumbnail, if you were to pull that up, that main boulevard and the cross street will tell you exactly where it's going to be located. It's 150 acres, so this is a pretty big deal. Okay? Mixed-use development, medical village, hospital, senior living. When you have a senior living facility, or a lot of them, the doctors nowadays will come into the facility to visit like one day a week, but their offices will be located all around them. All around them. Wherever you find medical clusters, you're going to find doctors within a few blocks because they'll have their private practice, and then they'll do something at the hospital. So
Okay.
medical's huge. Medical's huge.
Okay.
See that, yeah, so there's an example. I mean, we're just going right through this and just picking up stuff right here.
Yep. Let's see. This
was this afternoon's headlines.
Okay. Here's something else from Peter. Finding these people are great. Out of the people who start investing with you in your experience, what is the average percentage of people who lose money on the investment? Someone asked me that recently, and I didn't know how to answer. That's a good question, Peter, because I don't actually have an answer directly. I know just like anything else in life, just like when you buy a car, that's why we have lemon laws. Sometimes you buy a car and it ends up being a lemon. Same thing with investing. I know I can tell you from my own personal experience, and I had 250 units, and I'd say at any given time, 10% of them were causing me headaches. I don't know if that's a good average for everybody, but it's not a perfect world. It's not a utopia. In spite of our best efforts to do thorough analysis and make great decisions, things happen. I mean, it's just, trees fall on properties, people lose jobs and get sick, and all kinds of stuff happens. So that's probably, I don't know that there is a statistic out there that shows that, honestly. It's really just, I've never, that's a good question. I just don't know that there's a quality metric for that. Maybe the bankers are afraid to have us know that information. Yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I haven't seen anything like that. I haven't seen anything like that out there. What I do know is the more homework you do up front, keep it out of a flood zone, keep it in a neighborhood that does not have high crime rates, stay close to infrastructure and public transportation, make sure there's shopping and convenience. Think of it as if I had to rent and live here, what would be the things that would attract me? And that's where you're going to get the better clientele, the less problems.
Yep.
If somebody comes in and says, you're asking $800 a month and you're holding an open house for renters, and somebody comes in and says, I'll give you $850, why would you do that? You try to bring me down. The only reason you were going to give me $850 is you need to move in here, you're hiding, you're going to make it a meth lab. You got to use some common sense when you put renters in these places, and you got to use common sense when you choose the actual location. And because each location is a point on the map, it has coordinates, it has geography, it has demographics, and all that information is out there on the web. Okay? You can look at school districts. Are they good schools? What are the school ratings? And all these different things. You can fine-tune that to the best available product you can get your hands on. The better the product, the better the tenant, the better the success.
Right. Well, it also comes back to very basic, fundamental, and I always go over this when I teach the class in the market centers, which is this. You have to start off with the right education. You've got to have good education, have the right, whatever it is you're learning, you want to make sure you have a teacher or a trainer that's done what you want to do. Then you need the right information, that's exactly what tonight's subject is getting the correct information easily and efficiently, and then taking effective action. And when you apply that three-step process, the results are always going to be more successful. There's no guarantee in life. You're just always trying to improve your odds, and that's how you improve your odds. So on that note, Mark, it's 11 after 8. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here. I really appreciate you being on. I know that the folks online here, just based on the questions we got, pretty awesome stuff, and I can't wait to have people try some. Particularly, I think a lot of the comments came in were related to the occupational, the capability of figuring things out occupationally. Where are all these dentists? Where are all the chiropractors? How long have they had their license? That's good stuff. So if you have any final thoughts, Mark, to share with the group, before that, I just want to extend a hand of gratitude and a thanks to you for spending your time doing this. And hopefully we'll have you back again, maybe in January after the holidays, and we can show for those who are interested what's possible if they want to spend a few dollars. It's the data, whether you get it from us or they get it directly. No matter how you slice it, the advanced stuff is just going to cost. There's no way around it, and not everybody's up for that, but some people may be.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I enjoyed it. I enjoy sharing this stuff with people and helping folks out. There is some more free stuff out there we could present to you. I'd like to talk to you, offline about how to use the GIS, because a lot of it is now available to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And the GIS, instead of taking a week to figure something out, you could do it in an hour.
Right.
Do whole portfolios in an hour, and I'd love to share that with your folks, maybe in January down the road, and do just a quick, how to, what is GIS and how do you use it very quickly.
Yeah.
The GIS Lite version. But there is great stuff out there. If you get a lot of guys, ask questions of Gary. Don't be afraid to ask a strange question, because I know we can find an answer for you. And then Gary, let me know, and I'll go dig up an answer for you.
And by the way, up in Canada, we have to use GIS data. There's also something else called GEO Warehouse, because in Canada we don't have a lot of the same tools that are available in the States. So it's GIS data is huge up there in most provinces. So thanks for doing that, Mark. Thanks for your offer of help. I'm sure, if you want to, let's do this again perhaps next month, and maybe we'll look at some questions. So for everybody on the webinar tonight, shoot me your questions and any subject you want to touch on data-wise that would help you in your business, and let's present it to Mark and see if we can put together another presentation in January that'll help you along those lines. So thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful night and an awesome weekend coming up. I got one more week in California. Then I'm off for 2 weeks. There's no webinar the week of Christmas. However, there is one the week of New Year's Eve. And the week after that, I'm back in Florida for, I believe, just about 4 weeks straight. So all around the coastal, both coasts, and also Orlando again. So thanks again, everyone. And if you give us a shout out on your feedback on the Mark's presentation so far. It looks like everybody's thinking, hey, this is pretty cool stuff. So I appreciate it, and we will look forward to seeing everybody next week when we got Seth Green back talking about podcast. So everybody's saying thanks, Mark. So get a lot of kudos here.
You're all very welcome, and please put your questions in. I'll go find an answer for you.
You got it. I appreciate it, and I got a feeling there's a larger role for you involved with this group going forward, man. This is something we've been wanting to do, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to do this, So.
Okay, well, you got some ammunition, folks. Go out there and knock them dead.
Okay. All right. Can everybody have a great night, and we'll see you next week.